and welcome back to Joygasm, a video game and movie podcast. I'm Russ, and will someone please pass me the envelope to see who the winner is? In episode 330 today, January 15th, 2024, we're going to be going right into our topic of the day, which is our top 5 favorite movies of 2023. And Bradley has returned in his glorious fashion to, grace me as well as all of you with his presence via, phone, I guess you could say. But if you missed out on the previous episode, we did our top 5 favorite video games of 2023, so you don't want to miss that. However, in this case, we're going to be doing the old pivot to the movies itself. Bradley, welcome back to the show.
Thank you, Russell. It has been so long since I've talked to you.
So long. And
count the hours.
I feel like I've grown some more gray hairs since last we spoke.
Well, we did talk a lot about getting old yesterday, so it is entirely possible. That is one thing I have to say. I haven't really found any gray hairs yet. I've made it to my mid-40s without really having any gray.
That's impressive, because I could give you some. If you wanted some of my grays, I mean, I've got grays in the old goatee. I've got some grays on the sideburn area, and then on top, it's just kind of going away. So it's just a disaster 6 ways from Sunday.
Yeah, no, it's funny. I have a little bit in my beard, but just a touch. It's like one little tuft, but that's it. Like the actual head of hair, I have somehow maintained my stark white look. No, my brown hair that I've always had my entire life. Now I can't see for anything, so it's possible. It's possible that it's entirely gray and I'm just blind.
I actually saw some video and pictures of myself recently back when I was in my 20s. I'm like, oh my gosh, like I have a full head of hair. It was like the mane of a lion. And now it looks like a wilted flower.
Yeah, if you want to feel old, somebody sent me a Facebook or Twitter X whatever meme today, and it said, it had a picture of a 1988 Don Russ Greg Jeffries card.
Oh wow! Which
at the time was the go-to card, and it said, "Oh, by the way, the time difference from now to that 88 Greg Jeffries card is the same time difference as that 88 Greg Jeffries card to the 1952 Topps Mickey Mantle that is like the iconic card." So, yeah, when you start doing the Back to the Future math and
yes,
yeah, you're in trouble. You're like, oh, if we were Back to the Future, we went back 30 years. We're gonna stop right there.
Yeah. I understand. In fact, what you just said reminded me of something I saw. I think it was like on Instagram or something, but there was a post about how I might be messing up the numbers here, but essentially they were saying that the same amount of time from 1937 to 1980 is from 1980 to 2023. And I was like, what? And I don't know, like that provided a brand new perspective on how much time has in fact passed.
Yeah, well, part of it might be that we spend 4 minutes starting a podcast talking about time.
Yes.
But anyway.
Yes. What are we doing? Let us get back to the topic at hand, shall we?
That's it.
Okay, so we're going to go back and forth, taking turns, starting with our number 5 pick, going up to number 1. The same disclaimer that I mentioned in last episode of Joygasm, it applies here in the sense that neither one of us have seen every single solitary movie or TV show that has come out. We have done things a little bit differently this time around in the sense that the movie industry was kind of on the ropes a bit in 2023 due to the strikes and other types of things going on. They are still in this process of recovering from COVID, all this stuff that's happening. So we decided, okay, we will let TV shows be part of this top fave 5 this time around. Now, I will say on my side of things, I actually ended up being able to choose 5 movies on my behalf. I think Bradley, on the other hand, has more TV shows than films on his side. So we'll have to see what we have.
I might. We'll find out. I don't want to spoil anything, but
yes.
We've reached, it's weird because if you go back to the 90s, TV was very much secondary to the film industry.
It's true.
And I really believe a big part of it's just been the internet and the proliferation of streaming channels. And my God, you get Apple TV Plus getting Tom Hanks and these top tier directors and actors, and it's pretty amazing that, to me, it's shifted. I actually think for the most part, there are exceptions. For the most part, TV shows are overall stronger than a lot of what the movie industry has become. Now, there's nothing quite like a big movie moment that just gets into the cultural zeitgeist and everybody's seeing it and seeing it on a big screen. But some of the best stories I've seen over the last 3, 4, 5 years have absolutely been TV shows as opposed to movies.
Yeah, no, it makes sense. I mean, and we have seen, not to digress too far into this, but we have seen a bit of kind of an ebb and flow going on, I would say since right around 2012, where like you started getting these really great TV shows that were giving the movie industry a run for its money. But then the movie industry would come back and they'd have like all kinds of different films that would come forth. And but it seems like, like I said earlier, the film industry seems to still be trying to get up to normal standards of 100%. So anyway, I say, so just to book in what I was just talking about. So the movies that we have listed, these are our top 5 personal favorites that we have seen in 2023. So by no means take it. It's not like we're saying like this is the Oscars equivalent or whatever. So anyway,
well, speak for yourself.
Yeah, exactly. So go ahead, Bradley. Why don't you kick us off with your top number 5 2023 pick?
Yeah, my number 5 is one of my favorite TV shows of the last few years. And this last season was absolutely hilarious. And unfortunately, it is leading into the final season of the show, but it is What We Do in the Shadows.
I have never seen that show, and I totally it's on my must watch list. I still have not seen it. Dude, go ahead. Sorry, go ahead.
You Russ.
Guilty.
You would be this is a Russ show start to finish. You would be laughing so hard. I could absolutely see you walking around the house and jumping out from behind a corner and yelling "Bat!" and then just disappearing. What We Do in the Shadows is about vampires in modern day New York. And in this last season, there's a familiar, Guillermo, who lives with them and takes care of Nandor the Relentless. And he finally gets his lifelong wish of becoming a vampire, but it is nowhere near what he expected for so many reasons. And it is hilarious. It's irreverent. It is, if you haven't watched What We Do in the Shadows, you're missing out. It is absolutely one of those TV shows that you will just laugh hysterically and go, I can't believe that's where they went.
They did go there. Okay.
That's what the topiaries are. Got it. I'll leave that alone. One day you'll watch it and you'll go, the topiaries, I get it now. But yeah, it is. That was my number 5 for the year. It wasn't their strongest season. I think it's 5 seasons in at this point. Most TV shows start to lose a little bit of steam, but still absolutely fantastic. Couldn't wait for each week to come along to watch those shows. And that landed in my number 5 slot. Russ, I will ping pong it over to you. What do you have?
Nice. But before I get into that, what channel is that on?
That is on what channel? Jesus, you sound old.
I am old.
It's
is it not
FX.
even a channel? Oh, it's FX. Okay, so it is a channel.
just Hulu. Just go on Hulu. It's on Hulu day after it airs. The whole series is on there. Yeah.
Gotcha. All right, Hulu it is. I do have Hulu. All right. I've got to start watching that.
You will, again, I can almost guarantee. I've known you for a couple months.
A couple of months?
do we really want to do the math? I've known you.
We keep going back to the whole time thing this episode, don't we?
We do, and I guess what I would say, yeah, I've known you since probably 96, 97?
I think 98, actually.
Okay, I'm sorry, I was off by a year. So 98, that would put us 25, almost 26 years now, Russ, that I've known you. Yeah, you'll enjoy what we do in the shadows. This is very much a a show of for your sense of humor.
Yeah, I'm going to check it out for sure. Let me take a look here. Okay, so my number 5 favorite movie of 2023 is Guardians of the Galaxy Volume 3.
Aww.
Now, this was a bit of a sentimental send-off in the sense that this was probably going to be the last Guardians of the Galaxy film with the crew that we've all come to know and love, with Chris Pratt and everybody else. I would be really surprised if they were to get the whole team back together again at this point. Not to mention the fact that James Gunn has now left the Marvel camp and has gone over to be basically like the chief creative officer of the DCU. So we'll have to see how that goes. But in terms of this movie, Guardians of the Galaxy was such a success story from the first outing, really. I mean, it was a risk. It was a creative risk that really paid off. I remember watching the first film and just being amazed by like these characters who I'd never heard of before, and like they were just a bunch of misfits, this motley crew in outer space, and absolutely loving it. And they wound up being probably some of the most popular characters in successful movies within the MCU. And so with this third film, it was interesting to see like how they took things, and they had a focus, of course, on Rocket Raccoon. I won't go into too many details because I don't want to spoil it too much, but the tone of this one was actually a bit more intense, I would say, than the previous two films. Now, I will say the second film did have some intensity to it as well in a different place. But this one, it was interesting. I think that the there was a bit of introspective reflection with some of the characters. The antagonist actually was really cool. It's interesting because I can't remember off the top of my head the actor's name, but it was interesting to think about how Ant-Man Quantumania had come out in 2023, and it had another antagonist in there who I thought, definitely had a screen presence and was intimidating, that sort of thing. But if I compared the two, I think I actually preferred the one from Guardians of the Galaxy, because he had this kind of maniacal unpredictability about him. And he too had a very commanding presence on screen. And so that was something that I really enjoyed. I do think that number 2 is my favorite. If I compared them, I would probably say 2, 1, 3 is probably the order that I would personally choose in terms of my enjoyment of the Guardians of the Galaxy movies. But all 3 of them are just a great time to be able to go through all of that. And I'm glad that we as an audience got to experience that. Not to mention the fact that with them being also in the Avengers Infinity War and Endgame films, it's almost like we got 2 additional Guardians films, even though they weren't, on screen the whole time. I don't know. I think that was such a payoff. The whole time it was just great. So that's my number 5 pick.
It's a great pick. That was a good movie. Yeah, I really enjoyed Guardians 3 as well. That was a good call out there. it had a couple moments that I thought they were going to do some things, go some places.
Yes.
It really had you on the edge of your seat where you're like, oh my God, I can't believe they're going to, well, it's the last one. James Gunn is on his way out. I guess they're going to, no, okay. So yeah, it was definitely, that was a good one.
There was one thing, this is a bit of a spoiler, but I mean, I don't think it's
movie's been out for almost a year. You're good.
Yeah. The one thing that I was disappointed about was I wanted to see Star-Lord and Gamora get back together. Like, the thing about it was, Guardians is quintessentially drenched. It's completely submerged into 80s nostalgia, right? The songs that Star-Lord likes to listen to, his personality type is totally stuck in the 80s, and even like some of the persona of the crew itself. And one of the things about the 80s is if you watch 80s movies like romantic comedies or romantic like action flicks, more often than not, most of the time in those 80s movies, the guy always gets the girl back in the end. And I just thought, man, that would be such an homage to those types of films back in the day, but they didn't go there. And I was like, oh man, like, I don't know. Like, for me personally, if I was directing or if I had James Gunn's ear, I would just say, hey, look, maybe we should like consider going down this path where she doesn't remember who he is, which that's a fantastic setup. But then as like she hangs out with him and the crew and she sees how he conducts himself, she finds herself falling in love with him all over again. I mean, like, that would be awesome.
Well, anyway, that wasn't his Gamora. Wasn't that the whole? I thought that was the whole story. Is his Gamora was actually dead. This was an alternative universe Gamora who was now there.
Yeah.
So, yeah, it's tough because I agree. Peter Quill deserves a happy ending. He's been through so much, but you've got to be careful not to cheapen what happened in Endgame.
Very true.
So, that's the tough part, man. You start bringing one character back. Next thing you know, Black Widow's back. And
you can't do that for sure.
You can't. And, it's, I'm sure right now Marvel would love to bring Iron Man back to life and Captain America and Black Widow. But based on the performance of the last few Marvel movies, they would probably give billions of dollars to bring those characters back to life, literally. But yeah, no, it's Guardians 3 though, man. That was a good call out. That was a good call.
What is your number 4, Bradley?
It's a really good question. What is my number 4? My number 4 is actually the sequel to my favorite game or favorite movie from, I want to say 2018. And that is Spider-Man Across the Spider-Verse.
Ah, yes.
So I assume you saw this one. This is such an amazing movie experience. I think these are the best Spider-Man movies that have ever been on the big screen, bar none.
Oh, that's a tall order right there.
It is, but man, Into the Spider-Verse, Across the Spider-Verse, and just the characters, the animation, the way that this one introduces so many other versions of Spider-Men's, whatever. Additional Spider-Men's is into the movie, and each one of them has a slightly different art style and the background changes, and it is just amazing what they were able to put together, and it's wildly entertaining. The story goes places. The ending is one of the few times that I can remember ever sitting in a movie theater. The movie ends and people are just looking at each other like, no, we're not ready to go. We need to see what happens next, because it is just flat out cliffhanger leading into the part 2 of the movie. And I think that could have been the best time I had in a movie theater this year. There may have been one other that might have beat it, but it's right at the top as far as best time I had in a movie theater this year. I absolutely enjoyed Across the Spider-Verse, and can't wait to watch it again once, hopefully, when we finally get a good date on the follow-up. But yeah, fantastic movie.
Very nice. Very nice. My number 4 is the Super Mario Brothers movie.
Oh.
Did you see that one, Brad?
I did. I did.
All right. Excellent.
Yeah.
So for me, video game movie adaptions are always a slippery slope because we just simply don't know if they're going to be any good or not. And in the past, there have been some disasters. And one of those was, in fact, the original Super Mario movie that came out back in was it like the late 80s, early 90s, somewhere around there? But
yeah, early 90s. I want to say like 91, 92.
Like Bob Hoskins was Mario.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. That was no bueno. Fast forward to 2023, however, and we got a really nice Mario movie. I mean, like it was done by Illumination. They have really become, I would say, close to Pixar level in terms of their storytelling, and their visuals, of course, are very impressive. But I was waiting for this because I personally really enjoyed the 2 Sonic movies that have come out. I feel like they also did a nice job with Sonic the Hedgehog. I do wish that they would stay within Sonic's fantasy world as opposed to always staying in Earth or on Earth. But I feel like that's one of the parts that make the Super Mario movie so successful, is the fact that the entire movie is 3D. It's a 3D animated feature film. And so we get to go into these different parts of the world that everybody knows and loves about Mario and Princess Peach and Toad, and like you see all of these beloved characters. And I love the relationship between Mario and Donkey Kong. I thought it was hilarious. They've got kind of like this rivalry thing going, which is like a callback to the original arcade game that they were both featured in. The music was absolutely on point. I loved how they took all of the known themes and they just enhanced and expanded upon it. So you have this full-on orchestral arrangement of every one of these songs. It doesn't matter which one it is. The story itself is right in line with like kind of standard Mario Nintendo fare. It's not like an incredibly deep story, but that's kind of how the games are too. It's more about the experience, play by play. And I loved how it was a movie that was definitely rich with fan service. And my daughter has watched that movie, I don't even know how many times. Like, we went together to go see it in the theater, and then when it came out for the home, she has watched that countless amounts of times. And I've sat down there and watched it with her. I mean, it's just a fun family show. So anyway, that is my number 4 pick.
That's a good one. Yeah, I enjoyed the Mario movie as well. I thought they laid on the fan service a little too heavy. It was a little bit much at times. But no, beautiful to look at, and I'm excited to see where it goes. I really hope Illumination and Nintendo kind of form a long-term partnership based on the amount of money that movie made. I think they very well might. Because I would love to see more Nintendo properties turned into, animated features. So yeah,
even the voice acting was great. You had Chris Pratt as Mario, who I got to be real. Like, when I first heard that, I was like, I'm not sure if it's going to work. And it was fine. Like, you watch the film, you're like, okay, yeah, I'm not like, it's not like to me anyway, it wasn't like some sort of grave insult or offense or whatever. And then you had Jack Black as Bowser.
Oh, that was good. Yeah, Jack Black was good as Bowser. Charlie Day as Luigi was hilarious. Yeah. There was absolutely. I mean, as far as video game movie adaptations, obviously towards the top there. It was a good year for video game adaptations. I mean, The Last of Us TV show, which almost made my list, was another one that really
was well done.
Really did a great job and was well done, and expanded on the story of the game, I thought, in good, meaningful ways. I love that it brought a bunch of new viewers to that universe who are very excited to see what happens next, and I can't wait. I don't. You've played Last of Us Part 2, I assume, Russ?
I have not. I played the
Jesus.
first Last of Us. I beat the first one, never played the second one.
Well, then I will. You're killing me, Perkin. You're killing me. There's some stuff goes down real early in The Last of Us Part 2 that I think is going to break a lot of people when it comes to who have built a following on the show that was on this past year.
Sure.
So we'll see. I'm going to leave it at that because I don't want to spoil anything. But hey, they are remaking a remaster of The Last of Us Part 2 comes out later this month. Which
I heard about that.
is the most bizarre thing. That game's like 4 years old.
That's what I thought. I was like, wait, this game is not that old. It's kind of weird that they're doing a remaster of it.
Yeah, I think it's only $10 to upgrade if you own the PS3 version or PS4, excuse me. But still, that is the most bizarre and unnecessary remake. But okay, they decide, or remaster. I guess they've decided it made sense. So, wow.
Well, what is your number 3 pick for 2023?
My number 3 pick is another TV. Oh, that's funny. I went TV movie. Never mind. I'm going to spoil things. My number 3 is a TV series, a mini series, kind of a long form movie, if you will, that was on Netflix by somebody who I think has absolutely revolutionized the horror thriller genre over the last 5 years or so. And that is The Fall of the House of Usher by Mike Flanagan.
I have not heard of this.
Oh, you have not heard of it?
No. Go ahead. Keep going. Sorry, I didn't mean to interrupt you.
No, you're good. So, Fall of the House of Usher is kind of a modern day story about a family that's incredibly wealthy, and then all of a sudden, all of their children start dying back to back to back to back. In strange and bizarre ways. And it's a little bit of the telling of the leaders of the family, I guess you could say, and how they achieved their wealth and some of the things they may have sacrificed in order to achieve what they've been able to achieve. And it's called The Fall of the House of Usher because it's very inspired by the works of Edgar Allan Poe. So each episode has a title from a Poe story or short story or book or whatever, something related to Poe, something he put out there, and the characters, the deaths, the pretty much everything around it ties in with Poe in some way, shape, or form. And it's thrilling, it's exciting. You know where the story's going because they pretty much tell you in the beginning. But it's still one of those, you just want to see how it gets there. You've got to hear the story, see how it unfolds. And even when you think you figured it out, there's twists and turns. And it is a fantastic show if you like, kind of that thriller, borderline, not really jump scare horror, but just, kind of Poe type stuff, right? But I have loved everything that Mike Flanagan has done. My favorite... this may be my favorite TV series of all time is The Haunting of Hill House. I could watch that show every year. It's got some of the best moments, one of the best jump scares in the history of screens, TV, movie, whatever. I mean, it is, there's just such an intense scene, and then there's a jump scare that goes along with it. But it's also incredibly tragic along the way as you learn about the characters and what happened, and you start to see how the pieces. Anyway, the Flanagan universe that he created on Netflix is absolutely fantastic, and this is kind of the culmination because he's now heading over to Amazon to build content for them. But yeah, it's Fall of the House of Usher was fantastic. Enjoyed every episode. Fantastic acting, fantastic writing. and a story that you know, even though you know where it's going, you don't feel like you know where it's going. So that was my number 3 for the year.
Interesting.
Yeah. How about you, Russ? What's your third spot?
Well, I'm glad you asked, Bradley. My number 3 pick is Mission Impossible Dead Reckoning Part 1.
Oh.
Did you see this film?
I did not.
Oh, my goodness. Are you a fan of the previous Mission Impossible movies?
They're fine.
Okay. Fair enough. I am a big fan of the Mission Impossible series. I've always been entertained by Tom Cruise and the different types of situations that he finds himself in. And the series has really kind of been on this journey where the first film was definitely like into a lot of the original like TV show lore and that sort of thing. And then the second one deviated and had like kind of more of a John Woo spin on things. And then, you kind of go a little bit further and like suddenly you have J.J. Abrams getting involved, and then Tom Cruise kind of takes the helm. And so like you see like more of a realistic, mature, sophisticated approach to the subject material of Mission Impossible. And especially with the last handful of titles that have come out within the franchise, you know, the fact that Tom Cruise does all of his own stunts is insane. Like that is insane when you're in the theater and you're watching a sequence, some sort of action sequence, and you know that that's not a stunt double. That is, in fact, Tom doing his thing. And oh, by the way, depending on which movie you're watching, it could either be him when he's like in his late 40s or when he's in his 50s, or in this case, he's in his 60s and he's doing crazy stuff. So that just keeps me on the edge of my seat because I'm like, it's so funny. It's like clearly he survived all the different stunts because the movie finished. But when you're in the moment and you have the suspension of disbelief, you're like, I really hope he doesn't break a leg or something. This is really, edgy or intense, But no,
he did in the last one. He broke his ankle jumping out of a window, not the one from 2023, but the previous, and still finished like the shot. The dude is there's something unnatural about Tom Cruise. Not to start conspiracy theories, but yeah, it's true.
I mean, like he really is a top tier machine for Hollywood. Like he is all about giving the audiences the best possible movie going experience. And I appreciate that. He's old school. And, the plot lines also within the last several, I would say the last like 4 films at least, they examine certain types of things that are more or less current events or trending topics that people are talking about. And this movie is no exception because it focuses on AI and how essentially there is this character that is presented, which is basically like one of the villains or antagonists is this AI entity. And so the movie examines what happens when there is this sentient AI and how you have all these nations that are trying to get it. Like they're trying to find it and they want to wield it because that's tremendous power that they would have economically, militarily, everything. And so that's where Ethan Hunt comes in because he too is trying to figure out where this thing is located and also trying to deal with others who are trying to, stop him and be the first to market basically. So that was very interesting to me. This is part 1. So part 2, the story is going to continue with this AI entity. They ended up having several characters in this movie make a comeback. There are certain ones that are kind of like stalwarts of the series that you can just count on. You're like, oh, cool. Like, he's got his little posse back. But they ended up having, I won't say who, but there are other actors who haven't been like in a Mission Impossible movie for decades who they brought back. I'm just like, oh my gosh, like that's awesome. So, the whole thing, the soundtrack, always had this wonderful sense of dread. It was very like deliciously haunting and like, actually, Brad, speaking of Guardians of the Galaxy, Mantis is in Mission Impossible and she does so good. She does a fantastic job in this. In fact, all of the actors really, actually, now that I'm thinking about it too. So Captain America's wife is also in Mission Impossible. So, anyway, for what that's worth, I mean, hopefully I'm enticing your curiosity a bit to check this out because I mean, I for one was very entertained. And that's actually saying something too, because the previous film of Mission Impossible, I believe, had Henry Cavill in it, as well as Angela Bassett and some others.
Henry Cavill, where he cocked his punches.
Oh, dude. That was a chef's kiss. I'm just like, like, and he was rocking the stash. And he cocked the muscles, and just that bathroom fight scene was so over the top epic. Like, I was just like, oh my gosh, like this one scene is worth the price of admission. It was just awesome. But what I was going to get at was the fact that that film in particular is one of my favorite Mission Impossibles out of all the ones in the series. I don't know which one is my absolute favorite, because like there are like 2 or 3 that are just neck and neck, but like that one was definitely at the top as well. So going into this one, I was like, okay, how on earth are they going to be able to either top the previous one or at least meet it? And I believe that because they're doing more of a part 1, part 2 deal with this, which they kind of did with the previous one, but it wasn't like an intentional cliffhanger. I think that there was a creative decision that was made where they just decided they wanted to continue with some of these characters and so forth.
Yeah.
But no, I highly recommend, if you haven't seen Mission Impossible Dead Reckoning, definitely check it out. It's worth your time. If you're looking for like just a great action movie, it's just fun. It's super cool. The cinematography is gorgeous, exotic locales. Yeah. What more could you want?
Yeah, no, I saw the video of Tom Cruise doing the motorcycle jump over the cliff.
Oh gosh. Yeah.
And yeah, again, the guy he's not human. I saw on the internet that he's actually a robot alien. So that must be the only explanation, because he also doesn't age. At least not at the same rate the rest of us do in this world.
He's a shining example of what happens when you get enough sleep, you work out like you're supposed to, and you eat healthy. I think
I know people who do that and they don't look like that into their 60s. That's all I'm going to say.
It's true. Elven blood. That's my vote.
Elven blood. Okay, there we go. Mm-hmm. Part vampire. Yep. Tom Cruise is part vampire. You heard it here first. Oh, man. Where are we at? Are we up to my number 2?
Number 2 for you, Bradley.
All right. This is the one I'm curious to see if it's on both of our lists. My number 2 is a film that had been talked about for a number of years. Finally came out. At least it feels like it had been created for a number of years. And Oppenheimer came in my number 2 spot. Obviously, the latest Christopher Nolan film. It's funny because I wasn't sure what to expect in this movie going into it, knowing it was like a 3-hour movie, and the fact that honestly, on paper, there's nothing about this I should enjoy. Because it's a 3-hour movie with about 2 hours and 58 minutes of talking.
And you're a stickler. I have to interject. You are a stickler for time. Like, you're not into going to like 3-hour movies. You're all about the hour and a half, and you want to be done.
Well, I don't have. Here's my issue. My issue is you go to a 3-hour movie in a theater now. You got to get there 15, 20 minutes before, park, get in. You get in, and then the time for the movie starts. Then you get 5 to 10 minutes of commercials. Then you get 15, 20 minutes of previews. Then the movie starts. Yeah. So a 3-hour movie is like a 4.5 hour commitment plus drive time.
You just got to plan for like half a day being at the theater.
I don't have half a day most of the time to go watch movies. I just don't. That's not on the schedule. It's actually why I haven't seen Mission Impossible. We actually were debating going to see it back when it came out, and
You gotta see it.
looked at it and I'm like, I just don't have that amount of time. Flowers of the Killer Moon is one I really want to watch, or Killers of the Flower Moon. Geez, I said Flowers of the Killer. Anyway,
I got what you said. I think I maybe I'm just dyslexic, but yeah, I knew what you were talking about.
Yeah, well, it's, all the right words are in there, just not in the right order.
Word soup and there's something, I don't know.
Yeah, the movie looks amazing. I can't wait to sit down and watch it. But yeah, every time we thought about it, I'm like, yeah, I don't have that time. But Oppenheimer is kind of the opposite of that. We made time to do it. And it was, again, like a 3-hour movie with like 2 hours and 50 minutes of talking. But oh my God, it was so engrossing. Just hearing the story, hearing the pieces come together, how things were developed. They legitimately, if this has any basis in reality, they thought there was a possibility setting this thing off would destroy the entire planet. And they still moved forward with doing it. And, Cillian Murphy as J. Robert Oppenheimer, God, he was amazing. Just every time he was on screen, I wanted to just, okay, what's he going to say next? Where's he going to go? What's the story going to do? It was beautifully acted, beautifully written, entertaining, I don't know is the right word, but just captivating for the entire time that the movie ran. My favorite story was, Matt Damon is in the movie, and he had apparently told his wife that he was going to take some time off and, spend some time at home, take a year or two. And then he goes, well, unless I get a call from Christopher Nolan.
Yeah.
Yeah. So the call from Christopher Nolan came, and all of a sudden he's not taking the break that he'd promised his wife.
I wouldn't either.
No, there's, and the crazy thing is there's very few directors in Hollywood now that demand that type of respect, right? There's, you can probably name them on one hand where, if Christopher Nolan says, I want you in my movie, you say, yes, sir. Where do you need me and when? Right. And it shows because everything he puts together has got that level of shine, that level of just a little bit extra. And Oppenheimer was no different. So I landed that at number 2. What about you, Russ? What do you have at number 2?
Well, Bradley, you will be pleased to know that this is, in fact, the moment where our worlds collide. We are one flesh, you might say. But
Not sure I said that. Okay.
Number 2 for me is also Oppenheimer for 2023. I had been looking forward to this movie for some time, and I am a huge Christopher Nolan fan, as you know. I have been a big fan of his ever since I first saw Memento way back in like 2001, 2002, somewhere around there.
Yeah. So
I have followed his career for over 20 years. And so anytime that there's a new Christopher Nolan movie that's coming out, I will go see it. And this is no exception. As you were pointing out, Brad, the cast was so well chosen. You have, in addition to Mr. Murphy and Matt Damon, like you also have Robert Downey Jr., who did a really like different role for like, especially for his personality. You also have that one, there's that one female actress. She actually was in the Black Widow movie as the sister to Black Widow. And I can't remember what her name was in the film, but she basically plays Oppenheimer's love interest, before he gets married. I thought she did just a terrific job. Even the actress who played his wife also. I mean, everybody.
Emily Blunt
Emily Blunt. Yeah, thank you. I just feel like everybody really fit their roles. So one of the things that I really love about Christopher Nolan's work is he likes to play with different ways of communicating via film as it applies to the story. So like in Memento that I mentioned earlier, he intentionally started out like at the beginning and at the end of his movie, and then basically whittled his way toward the middle. And the middle of the movie was basically like the end of the movie. So very original take on like how you tell a story. And he does this with other films as well, where there's one that came out before Oppenheimer, and I'm like kicking myself because I can't remember the name of the film, but like
Interstellar.
No, not Interstellar.
Tenet.
I was going to say Regent. I knew that wasn't right. Tenet. Thank you. Tenet was another one where he's dealing with time travel and like how the way he tells his story is one of kind of in that parallel approach of like, okay, let's take the audience on a ride, but let's cut the film in such a way that kind of throws them off balance a little bit and causes more intrigue and stuff. And then, you get certain revelations as you go on. Oppenheimer, what was interesting was he did a little bit of that going back and forth. And what was interesting was that if you noticed, every scene that Oppenheimer was in was color. And every scene that Robert Downey Jr.'s character was in was black and white. And then and it was interesting because you did have moments where the two men were in the same room, but it was interesting because it was almost like whoever had more of a dominating force at that moment got to basically choose whether or not that scene was in color or black and white. So like, if you recall, like there's the round table scene where there's all those political figures and Oppenheimer's there and there really aren't any other scientists at the table. It's merely just these like kind of Capitol Hill big shots, and Robert Downey Jr. is one of them there too. That whole scene plays out in black and white. But if you watch the scene where Robert Downey Jr. is talking to Albert Einstein and Robert Downey Jr. is there, that scene plays in color. So it's really neat because that extrapolates out the idea that, Oppenheimer's mind was one that it wasn't just limited to being like black or white, right? He was all about discovering new ways of doing things and being able to use science as a vehicle to be able to come up with these different types of theorems and prove out these things, versus like a politician, for example, is very much by the book, right? But, very law driven. And so therefore the black and white rigidity is there. Those are the kind of things that I, as a creative, really respond positively to when all of a sudden, like, and I didn't know that going in when I saw the movie, but like, I would say like halfway through to like 3/4 of the way through, it dawned on me. I'm like, oh my gosh, like this is brilliant. This whole thing of how he's doing it is great. So that was terrific. And also too, like what you're talking about, it's a 3-hour movie with no action. It's not like you have like these white knuckle moments or anything else, which means that the dramatization has to captivate the audience for 3 hours. And, you already have a topic that will cause people to sit up and want to listen and take note. And I just found it very fascinating to get to know the man Oppenheimer, not only like what he was able to do for the world and for the United States, but also too, when you tap into more of his private life. I had no idea some of the details that were going on. Like for instance, one of the things that the movie examines is his relationships with the Communist Party. Like that was like whoa, no idea that was even a thing. But again, like he was kind of towing that line back and forth between like, he had friends and relations, and he attended some of the Communist Party little get-togethers and stuff, but then he was still a patriot of the United States. And like, that kind of got him into trouble later on. And like, I don't know, it's like, I don't know, you just be a fly on the wall and learn about something like this. I think it's a terrific opportunity, especially for folks who love history, to be able to get something like this that I want to say is pretty accurate. I think the one thing I did hear about that I think the family of Oppenheimer was objecting to was the scene where Oppenheimer takes an apple and he injects some sort of like rat poisoning or cyanide into it and gives it to his professor. Like they were claiming that never happened.
Interesting. Okay.
But no, that is my number 2 pick as well. Man, such a great movie. And I'm very much looking forward to seeing what Christopher Nolan and company cook up next.
Yeah. I've got to say, I'm a little surprised. I thought that was going to be your number 1. I'm really curious what swings in there at number 1, because I'm kind of drawing a blank on where you might go next.
Indeed.
I
like to keep you guessing, Bradley.
Yeah, there you go. Well, I'm wrapping my head around. I've got one idea actually, but we'll see. All right, are you ready for my number 1? Are we at that point? Are we almost done going into our final?
We are. We are at the number 1 picks. So lay it on me, Mr. Halverson.
Oh, you would never guess my number 1. My number 1 is season 2 of The Bear on FX.
I have not heard of this either.
Yeah, dude, you're missing out. This is actually knowing where you've worked. You're missing out. So The Bear is a story of a high-end chef who ends up coming home to Chicago after his brother dies to run the family sandwich shop. And season 1 was good. It was good. It was solid. It was, you're like, that was good. I enjoyed it. Season 2 starts about the same. You're like, this isn't bad. And then around episode 4 or 5, it just goes from, oh my God, this is good, to holy crap, these are some of the best 45-minute episodes of TV that have ever been put on the screen. There's a run in this show of really, from episode 5, 6 on, 6 through 10 at the end of season 2 that are arguably some of the best episodes of TV ever crafted. There's an episode in particular called Forks, and I'm going to try to explain it, and you're going to go, what the heck? How does that sound fun? And basically the guy who's running the restaurant sends his brother to intern. His brother, who's a great chef in his own right, to intern at a fancy restaurant. The guy shows up to intern at this fancy restaurant, and they have him drying forks. Okay. And he's like, I'm a great chef. You have me drying forks. And the whole episode is just about the experience, both from the staff and running a business standpoint and from the consumer standpoint or the customer standpoint. And, it is just, I was edge of my seat. I've probably watched that episode 4 or 5 times this year alone. And I think it came out like in June. IMDb has it. Here we go. I got it right here. 9.7 stars out of 10 on that episode. It really is as close to a perfect episode of TV. And me trying to describe it won't do it justice. But the way that the story weaves and the points they get across and the importance of every detail when you're trying to create a memorable experience, it resonated so hard for me. It was, just even thinking about it now, I'm like, man, I could watch that again. And then the season ends with an episode that is arguably the most intense episode of TV I've seen in a long time, just sitting at the edge of your seat as they're, opening and finally getting this restaurant back off the ground. And then, of course, certain things go wrong, but people step up and it's team. And anyway, The Bear season 2 is so good. It was my easy number 1 on this list when I sat down to create my list and decide what I was going to put out there. Started thinking about what came out this year and just immediately put that in at number 1, because that second season, especially the back half of it, really is just so amazingly put together, crafted. Every piece of it is memorable and strong, and it keeps building. It just keeps building. So that is my number 1 entertainment property of the year, TV movie is The Bear season 2. Another FX show that you can watch on Hulu there, Russ.
Hulu it to me, baby.
Yeah, so that's where I landed. It is, it is just so good. But I'm super curious what you've got at your number one. I've got to guess. I'm not sure I'll be right, but what do you have at number one, sir?
My number one pick for 2023 is John Wick Chapter 4.
Yeah.
Did you guess it? Did you?
No, not.
Oh!
I kind of forgot that came out.
Have you seen it?
Russ, I gotta go. No, I've heard of it at least.
For shame.
Yeah.
Oh boy. Well, let me tell you something, Bradley. I, as you may or may not know, am a huge fan of the John Wick series. Every single one of these movies is legit. In fact, it's so legit, it's too legit to quit. That's right. And my goodness, I have loved what they have done. To me, it's almost like kind of like this parallel universe of the Matrix in a way, where obviously the two are not the same. They have their own kind of stories, but it's gun fu, right? You have martial arts, you've got all kinds of different ways of dispatching of these hapless foes. The music is pumping, the cinematography, my goodness, it's like every one of these John Wick movies gets better and better in their cinematography. It's insane. There is a scene, and I'm just going to tell you, I'm going to explain the camera setup here, but there is a particular moment where John Wick is doing his thing, and the camera it's a top-down view. So you're watching him go from room to room in this building, taking people out from a top-down perspective. It is badass. It is so awesome. And you can tell that they're just having fun. And it's the biggest thing is when you have an idea when it comes to a film and the whole crew is in on it and you're just having a blast. It shows in the performances. It shows in the different types of creative approaches that they take on different things. And the journey, of course, of Mr. John Wick has been super fun to just go on this ride with him and see what happens next, who he has to take on. My goodness, I ended up seeing that movie a few times actually because I was just it's funny because Steve knows I'm a huge fan of John Wick. And I mean, he was grinning at me in the theater because I was hooping and I'm just oh my gosh. I'm kind of nervous because I'm thinking my goodness, they have 4 movies that they've done exceptionally well in my view. I just keep thinking are they going to run out of ideas? Is the next one not going to be as good? Because these are just these are so cool. So anyway, that is in fact my number one pick. I cannot recommend this movie enough. Who doesn't like Keanu Reeves? And oh, by the way, the rest of the cast is just as cool. I mean, the whole thing the whole package is why I go to movies. It is so entertaining, and it's just there's just something about sharply dressed men and women who have gun fu going on with that rocking soundtrack. I mean, I don't know. I feel I'm kind of spoiled in 2023 because I got both Mission Impossible Dead Reckoning Part 1 and John Wick Chapter 4. And I'm a big action guy. I love, again, the movie has to be quality action. I don't go to just anything and sing its praises afterwards. I need to make sure that what I'm seeing is up to the bar. And John Wick has single-handedly raised the bar 4 consecutive times in terms of what is expected in an action movie. So that's my number one.
Crazy. Yeah. I feel I got a couple movies to watch as we finish out our discussion here.
Yeah.
So, knowing how John Wick 4 ends, and I haven't seen it, but I know how it ends, and I'm going to try to be vague here. It made its way around the internet. Do you think they make a 5th?
I think the studios totally want to make a fifth. I think that due to John Wick Chapter 4 was gangbusters at the box office. They made tons of money. So I think the executive bean counters are frothing at the mouth for a fifth one. I'm not sure if Keanu is going to be game for it or not. I give it 50-50 because the way that they ended Chapter 4, I mean, it was a pretty definitive way to, not continue the franchise. But I mean, they did leave a little wiggle room in there if they so desired. The other thing that's worth noting is that they are currently developing a TV series that's based on the world of John Wick. And I think that already
came out.
It did?
I'm pretty sure it did.
I thought that they were still finishing it up.
No, that was like September. Yeah, September 22nd.
It stars the one actress. Oh gosh, my brain is just not cooperating.
It's got Mel Gibson.
What?
Yeah, the Continental from the world of John Wick.
That came out already? Where the heck have I been?
I don't know. Where the heck have you been, Russ?
Well, wait, because
in September, yeah.
I didn't, because the movie came out earlier this year, and I didn't realize that they were planning on having the show get released the same year. I thought it was coming out this year in 2024.
No, all 3 episodes have already aired. They came out in September.
Wait, how many episodes?
It was only 3 episodes.
Oh, weird. Is it the okay, let me ask you this. Do you know offhand if the main character is a ballerina?
Yeah, I don't know.
Okay. Oh man, what is her name? The actress I'm thinking of, she was in the latest James Bond movie. She had a small part in that. She was also in Blade Runner 2049 as the holographic girlfriend to the main character.
So there's a separate movie coming out called Ballerina that comes out next year. Is that what you're thinking of?
Maybe that's what I'm thinking. Maybe I'm getting the two mixed together because
with Ana de Armas.
That's it. Yes.
Okay.
Yes.
Okay.
That's who I'm thinking of.
So that's a movie that's coming. It's the TV show was The Continental.
Okay.
Which already came. Yeah. So, yep.
I was combining the two together because I thought that was going to take place within the TV show Continental, but apparently they're two separate things. So I have something to look forward to watching because I didn't know that came out. I'm going to have fun checking that out because that's supposed to actually focus more on introducing other characters that exist in John Wick's world. And, I'm just hoping that it continues down the path of what the movies have set up. But on top of that too, so the ballerina is something I'm looking forward to because Ana de Armas is someone who I've been a big fan of looking at her previous work. And I think I read somewhere about how I think Keanu Reeves is going to make a cameo in that movie too. I think he's not going to be in it for very long, I don't think. But again, to me, that this is the start of what I talked about actually when John Wick Chapter 3 came out, which was I want to see the world of John Wick be expanded upon because he is but one character in this world that is ripe for showing off different types of assassins, right? Showing off different facets of the underworld. My goodness, there's so many different opportunities that they could pull in if they do their casting right and do these spinoffs that could be just as cool. Just keep that formula going. Don't mess with it too much. But this, the ballerina, for instance, plays right into it because ballerinas have had a presence in, I think, almost all of the previous John Wick films. And so for them to go down that path, I'm very excited about.
Good. Yeah, see, now I've given you something to chase down. Now you get a show to watch too.
I'm glad that we sorted that out. My goodness. I was operating with my wires crossed on that one.
No, you're good. So very good. Yeah, I definitely need to check out John Wick 4. I honestly kind of forgot it came out. Yeah.
It's so good, dude. The fight scenes are so good. The whole thing, man. It's so
I
good.
love the first three. I mean, for whatever reason, we never got around to seeing the fourth one, but
I'm telling you, man, if you like the first three, dude, like there's this, I'm not going to like fully describe it, but there's basically this one moment where, no, I can't shoot. Yeah, dude. Like John Wick has, I don't know. I'm not going to say anything. Like basically like every new character they introduce is amazing. Like it's so good. It's so good. It's so awesome, man.
Very good.
Anyway, I'll shut up because I realize I sound like a broken record, but please go see it because we have to talk about it when you finally see it so we can geek out. But
yeah, no, we'll check that out, and Mission Impossible as well, and get caught up on those for you.
Yeah. Well, thanks a lot for hanging out with me these last 2 episodes. I appreciate your time as well as your selections. So it's always fun to be able to see what you've selected. And I feel like it's been fun in the sense that like, I think certain years, I know for me, like I'm probably a little more predictable at times, but I feel like this year I kind of stumped you a couple times, which is, it's fun.
You did. And I mean, part of it, I totally forgot that, John Wick came out this year. If you'd asked me yesterday, I would have said, "Oh yeah, that was a 2022 movie." But no, dude, you got me on a couple. And I know I always come to this, and I have things that I mention, and you're like, "I have never even heard of that." Tell me more, so I like to keep you on your toes.
Well, it's good because it's an opportunity to inform each other of different things that perhaps got away from us. So
yeah, anyway. Absolutely. Well, thanks for having me, Russ. I appreciate it.
Oh, yeah. Yes, of course. It's tradition. So
it kind of is at this point. Yep.
That wraps up this episode of Joygasm. Thank you so much for hanging out with us. If you enjoyed this episode, I invite you to check out patreon.com/joygasm to get exclusive perks and early access to the show. Not to mention, it financially helps me continue doing the podcast. Also, click on that subscribe button as well as that notification bell. That way you will not miss a single solitary episode of Joygasm that drops once a week each week. And while you're at it, you could do a search for @Joygasm TV on your favorite social media platform of choice. Just type in JOYGASM TV. And last but not least, you could also do a search for us on Twitch with @Joygasm TV. Which airs Wednesday nights at 9:30 p.m. Central Time. I want to thank you all once more for hanging out with us, and I can't wait to see you all next week.